Welcome to the Brain Gain Youngstown Leadership Series podcast. Each week, we'll learn from leaders who are driving change and making an impact. Now here's your host, the CEO of the Youngstown Publishing Company, Jeff Leo Herrmann.
I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Maeson Green. He is an amazing entrepreneur, and he's only 19 years old. So he's juggling starting a company, full load at YSU, and even things in his personal life that in many cases would stop someone from moving forward. But in this case, it really accelerated his progress. So please give a listen to Mr. Maeson Green, and I hope you enjoy the show. We are with Maeson Green today.
How's it
Maeson,
going?
hey, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me.
I have to ask, just first, before we even say tell us about yourself, you spell your name very uniquely, right? M-A-E-S-O-N.
Yes, Jeff. Actually, I'm named after my grandmother, my mom's mom, and her name was May, and it was spelled M-A-E. So my mom said if she had a girl, she would name her Megan, and if she had a guy, she would name him Mason. And here I am, Mason, M-A-E-S-O-N.
Nice, very good, unique. And tell us where we're sitting here. Here we are at your store, right?
Yes, we're live inside the Relaced store, 3622 Belmont Avenue, suite number 3 in Youngstown, Ohio.
Nice. Work in progress, but it looks phenomenal in here.
Yes, so we're actually 3 months into renovations and construction. I actually came into a complete vanilla shell and just been building this place day by day.
Looks good.
Thank you so much.
What are your plans? So just give us the high-level view of the business.
Yeah, so MBG Restoring LLC started in 2015. I was in 8th grade, and I was just,
8th grade?
Yes, 8th grade. I was, just at the lunch table wanting to restore kicks, for my guys on the football team so I could have some money for extras. I love to eat. So, I would go make those couple bucks, and I'd take them, to the lunch line. I'd get some more extras. And then I realized I could really start making some, some money through this. Everybody around me said my shoes looked clean. I even made my own shoe cleaner. And, God bless my mom who's in heaven right now. She was yelling, Mason, get out my kitchen. Stop trying to, find stuff to make this better. But, I made a solid solution. And, from there through the years, I started reselling shoes in 2017 because I wanted to make even more money. So restoring and reselling. And now we're here, doing all types of restorations from, boot, shoe, hat, and designer bag, as well as offering watch link removal. And then in this store, we're going to be reselling the streetwear and vintage clothing, as well as your low-end and your high-end sneakers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is our sneakers a core business?
Yes, absolutely, because I started with sneakers. I love, sneakers, but what I found in 2020 when I changed, the name from MBG Restoring to kind of Relace the store whenever I knew that I just proclaimed that the store was going to come this year. I said I have to change the name to Relace because it's going to be used for something. And here we are in the Relace store.
Some of the biggest businesses were found during times of crisis,
yes.
Right? True entrepreneurship.
Man.
Is doing things in spite of the macroeconomic environment around you.
Exactly.
Right? And you just got out of YSU, is that correct?
Yes, I just got out of class actually. I'm a sophomore at Youngstown State
You're
University.
not even done yet.
No.
You're a sophomore.
I just got out of class,
man.
not the university.
All right, well, I know, we really appreciate your time today because you've been with Jeremy already and Steve and doing lots of videos.
Yes, very, very busy, just how all my days are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll keep this brisk and efficient. How about that?
Sounds good,
I know
Jeff.
you're busy. You're building an empire here, so we want to respect
trying.
that and keep going. Well, let's talk about leadership, right?
Yes.
So you got started with entrepreneurship at a very early age, and like you said, for extras. So what inspired you? Like the question I often ask is, what did you want to do when you as a child? What did you want to be when you grow up? But you're still right there. I mean,
right. Yeah. I'm still right there.
You're living it right now.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't, even being younger, I couldn't tell you what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to work very hard in whatever I did. I knew core values early. I had to mature very early. My mom was a 2-time cancer survivor. So I was in, the hospitals, every day after school, every day after football practice. The amount of times I've had doctors tell me that your mom wouldn't make it past a certain amount of time, it's been endless. So seeing my mom beat that and continue to take care of business. The week before my mom passed away and she went to the hospital last time, she took care of business. She made it so transparent for everyone when it was our time to actually go through those belongings and see what processes we need to take. It was all labeled, right there for us. So that's how I knew no matter what you're going through, you got to take care of business. And you got to make sure that you put yourself and your family in the best position to win. Right. So, regardless if I, stop doing this and I start fighting fires or I start flipping burgers or whatever the case may be, I won't stop until I put myself and my family in the best position to win.
Right, right.
So that's the main goal.
Do you mind if I ask how long ago she passed?
She passed April 2nd of this year. So very recent. I know that they put out publicly that I won the Bergen Entrepreneurship Prize.
Right.
And a part of that, when I was working on that project, I was going through, that was the same week that my mom had passed. I didn't say it to anyone. I didn't really, because I deal with things a certain way and different way. So I just I took care of business. That's what I did. I took care of school. I took care of what she needed to get done for the arrangements with my father. And I took care of my business. I never stopped. And from there, I sent in my, my information for that, submission. And I ended up winning, thank God. But, through all that, I was going through, the heartbreak of losing the most important person in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you feel that that's given you further motivation or further incentive to just, life is short, you got to do what you love?
Oh, absolutely. Because if my mom was here right now, I would probably be at the Mog Library studying. She would, I'm just going to be honest. She would be FaceTiming me. She said, Mason, you need to focus on school. You need to get school done. She said, don't turn it into the money man and forget that you need a brain. That's what she said. But, and we've had these conversations that, like my business may take off and I may be in a position to where, I need to focus on this and that. And I know she's up there and she's so proud of me. And she would be in the store today making sure stuff was in order. But she's the one that, made me kind of just say, my mom passed away. I'm here. We're in pandemic mode. Let's just go. Let's just do it.
Right.
I put in my money to where I need to put it, and now I'm here. It's an everyday journey.
Right.
There's not one day where I feel safe and secure because at any time, anything could happen. We both know that.
Anytime,
you know
anything,
what I mean?
Right?
Yeah.
Well, bias for action. I mean, that's truly one of the criteria you need for entrepreneurship. Right?
Absolutely.
Is just get moving.
Yeah, and get going.
Is there someone you look to for inspiration or guidance, or do you have a mentor?
Yeah, I got a couple of people that come to mind. My father, for one, he's the one that taught me how to be a man, taught me how to treat a woman. Those key attributes, my minister over at Third Christian Church, Pastor Bob, on the celebrity side, DJ Khaled, that's the guy I look up to for everything.
Right.
And if you're around me enough, you might hear me reciprocate some of his catchphrases or, the way. But I've read every book, listened to every interview, and I just find me and him very similar in the way that we think. So, I feel like he's really an inspiration. On top of, saying my prayers, Christina Volsich, another good inspiration. There's so many people that have, helped me and talked to me and guided me into, kind of what I am, today.
Do you have a philosophy or just a set of guiding principles? You mentioned core values. Are your core values scripted out, like written down somewhere, or?
Well, the only place that they're scripted out is, in my room. I wake up every morning and I say, God woke you up, it's time to grind. This is Youngstown, this is Grit University.
Right.
You know what I mean? So out here, I went to high school in Austintown, so I was more over there. But when I started going to university, I was able to be around Youngstown. I was able to see these WRTA drivers wake up early in the morning. I was able to see the people walking in and out of VXI trying to make a living for their family and stuff like that. I was able to see that stuff. So if it just came to this. If you want to be at this point, you got to wake up and you got to work at it. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. If you want to be somewhere, you have to wake up and you have to just go get to it because it's out there. People are making, change and they're making stuff out of nothing, including me, myself. You just have to wake up and go get it and continue to believe in the vision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what signals have you gotten along the way? So it sounded like you started at the lunch table,
right,
which then led to here we are in your own retail storefront, right? In your own. So what made you take that leap to going the full retail route? Because you could have just had basically a warehouse and incoming restoration and outgoing.
I could have stayed, in my parents' basement. That's where I was restoring cakes. My dad wasn't ready to kick me out just yet.
Right.
But the overflow was pulling. Just a couple things. Like I knew in 2020 that two things. One, my network would determine my net worth. So how many people I talk to, how many hands I shake or now fist pound due to COVID will determine how much money I have at the end of the year. And 2, if you want to go do something, you have to do it. Now's the time. And those were the 2 attributes that just kind of made me do it. We could have continued to be online. To myself, to me, I feel like I got the best group of young people working on the digital team, like Nate and Coop and Zepp and Maddie and Dave and all these guys that are working like digitally to make sure that we're live. That's good. We could have kept doing that, but it was more of a centralization thing for me. We deal with, the low ends, but we deal with a high end too. We're sitting right next to Prada purses, Burberry's. Right. We got some stuff of value here. For instance, these guys don't, and women don't want to meet me, at the Walgreens or at the Walmart to exchange products, with money. Even shipping, that gets, you don't want to lose a $100 bag or, a $200 pair of shoes in the mail. So this is kind of providing a central location where everybody can know that, okay, this is a safe service, and we can kind of trust, this young man and this group of people around him to know that, they're bringing something real and legit to the table. Because in this industry, you could really get caught up with fake stuff and counterfeits and not fun, items. And it's not a fun experience at all.
Right. So that's a good question. We're going to sidebar here a little bit, but you're right. A storefront, a physical location, it brings a degree of authority and presence.
Yeah, I
to
like
your
to
business,
say 1,500 square feet of physical authority.
But, so for like a pair of Yeezys, right? So my son just got a pair of Yeezys. He got it, secondhand.
Right.
How do you tell? Like, is there a big issue with fakes?
Yes,
basically?
because right now the counterfeit market is booming. Like I'll just be honest. Like you have to really know your stuff. It's not to where you can just glance and say, "Oh, that." Like no, you have to really know your stuff. And
there's a reflector or something.
Yeah. There's reflectors, and there's a bunch of different ways to legit check each shoe. And that's why I didn't go into specific shoes, because there's not the same way to legit check any shoe. They're all different. But in saying that, if you get caught up with the wrong buyer and their shoes or purse or whatever ends up becoming fake, then that's a huge liability on you and your company. No matter how much you make it right, these people can still go and yell and scream to something else. So I like to really make sure we know what we're dealing with. And even if, there's a lot of counterfeit products that are hot. Like, we might even have some bootleg Gucci shirts or vintage shirts for, $10, $15 to really appease to the crowd. If Dapper Dan did it in Harlem, do you know who Dapper Dan is? Okay, I told Jeremy to look him up. I want you to look him up too and see what he did for the city of Harlem. You're familiar with Biggie Smalls and Diddy and TLC. Well, Dapper Dan was the gentleman that made all that's the Gucci and the Fendi and the Louis affordable for all these rappers in Harlem. He had a 24-hour shop, and what Dapper Dan would do was he would go out to find these materials of Louis and Gucci, and he would make jackets and hats and shirts and all this stuff, and that's what kind of started this whole streetwear style. So here goes the thing about Dapper Dan. All these big companies found out. Fendi came in on one of the nights. He was the only 24-hour, place you could go and get clothes. You'd literally go get fresh and go straight to the party. Fendi came in and shut him down. They said, this was enough, enough was enough. So all these guys ended up copying his ideas. That's where you see the Gucci sweats, the Coogee sweaters, all those different things. Now Dapper Dan's on top of Gucci handling, a lot of their operations. But in saying that, somebody who came from the ground up and provided affordable styles for people that eventually turned those styles into money, there's no reason why we can't have a couple bootleg shirts in here. But it's important to know that the stuff is bootleg. You have to really let people know what they're buying.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So we're going to transition into things you've learned along the way. So you've been an entrepreneur for how many years now? 10 years, it sounds like?
About 10 years, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A 10-year overnight success, right?
Yeah. Thinking about success since the lemonade stand, Jeff.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into possibly some things you've learned along the way via entrepreneurship mistakes.
Okay.
Before we do that, we have to take a minute to thank our sponsors.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
The Brain Gain is a collaborative effort, and we'd like to thank the headlining members of the coalition, including Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Moransky Companies, and the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition. Also included are Farmers Bank Group, Youngstown State University, Eastern Gateway Community College, the DeBartolo Corporation, Cortland Bank, MS Consultants, and 898 Marketing.
So now, are you bootstrapping this operation, or you mentioned the Bergen Entrepreneurship Prize? So was that a source of seed funding, or how's that?
Well, yeah, I had won the Bergen Entrepreneurship Prize through YSU, and it was a $2,400 grant to the student that came up with the best, business idea, and it was kind of to help fund that business. So the cool thing about me is I had already had a business, so I had just, put my, stuff together and I had sent it through. So that $2,400 definitely did play a big role into me getting the store, but ultimately I'm all out of my pocket. Like I said, it's, every day is a new day, and I know when it's time to sell stuff, I know when it's time to hold stuff, because, when that time comes and these payments got to be made, I got to be ready.
Right.
But in saying that, I'm not funded by anybody. I've been looking for different funding, but Jeff, I'm pretty young, you know what I mean? So it's hard to get funding, but that's why I try to do as much as I could on my own. That when I possibly have, a silent investor or, some banks that maybe want to check out what we're doing, they could see that this is already what I did, at the age of 19.
Right. 10 years into it already.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So hopefully that could maybe spark, some more funding. Because regardless, the store is going to be really cool, but if we could make it the best that we could, that funding always helps, like it helps any business.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You mentioned this solution you made in your mom's kitchen.
Yes.
Is this a proprietary solution, or was it like a vinegar composition, or what?
It was a solution that I based off of one small sneaker cleaner, and it's not a brand name. It's nothing. I took that small sneaker cleaner. I added a couple of different features that are, let's just say, cleaning supplies, and to really, focus on an all-purpose type of shoe, which is, any other color, and then I have a specific solution just for white shoes.
Oh, okay.
Something that's specifically going to get that white back white. And I won't say all the secrets in there, but
Right.
I plan on getting that solution patent down the road, and even possibly selling these bottles, in the store of that solution. So, our customers can buy a pair of shoes and then buy our cleaner, and
Just to
possibly
maintain.
even and to maintain.
So we might see you on Shark Tank at some point?
Possibly, fetching that that desire, and having a bunch of bottles and different stuff to show to them and let them buy into
Right.
our solution. Yeah.
Right. So, all right, so you're 19, right?
Yes, sir.
You're 10 years in.
Yeah.
What have you learned along the way? Any mistakes you've made that you wish it's like,
Yeah, you gotta trust who you're around. My mom and my dad always told me that, your friends are not always your friends. You gotta really stay close and see, who's around you. You keep your enemies close, but you keep your friends closer. If I can't know everything about you and you know everything about me, you're not the one, for me. On the friend side, because when you're in an industry like this, and where we have conversations to where I can't even let you know the physical products that are in my solution, but Dave knows, what I
Right.
mean, and Dave's the one that goes to bat for me. So unless I die, that'll never come out. So
Right.
those are the type of individuals that I need around me, and always there's some rough ones in the patch. So you really just have to be aware of your surroundings. And another thing I'll say, never think anything's certain. At any point in time, it's all gone.
Right.
And still at any point in time, boom, it could all be there. If you're thinking bad, God could bless you. If you're thinking good, God can let you know that you need to pray some more. You know what I mean? There's different things and attributes that I've learned that have kind of like pushed me to be where I am now. So that's why I'm as spiritual as I am, and that's why I'm as private and as close as I am. Because I with my name and my value, I hold a lot of weight that can eventually make money in different cities. This solution could make money all over the world, and that's the goal. I want a Relaced store from coast to coast, Jeff.
Absolutely.
If you see a McDonald's, I want you to pull in and see a little Relaced hut too.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Everywhere. So
starts here, starts now.
Exactly.
How has YSU helped you, perhaps? What have you learned along the way through YSU, or do you have professors that are giving you support, or championing your cause.
Yeah, well, YSU, I'm such a, it's such a blessing to even be able to go to that school. Totally accredited business college, and to even be, on a scholarship and able to, go to that university, it's just a blessing. My favorite thing, ultimately, that I've learned, because right now I'm in business classes. I've completed the Emerging Leaders course, the 100-hour course through the SBA. So I've experienced some of, the terms and stuff, they're being reciprocated and stuff like this. But my favorite thing about the university is just the resources, man.
Right.
Like every time there's an email about something that you could help out with, something that you can learn. So I found out about this Bergen Entrepreneurship Prize through my email, just checking my Penguin email. And
nice.
I just saw it, I'm like, that seems pretty cool, $2,400, I could use that. So let me go ahead and fill this out. So just the resources that the university offers. The teachers and the professors, they're all professionals. You know what I mean? I have a legal environment, a business teacher. The last week he said he was going to be late to class because he was coming from the courthouse. Like, these are real people in real positions.
Practitioners, right.
And that's what I like, being around bosses that can teach me how to be a boss and, not an employee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you feel like there's many barriers in your way? I mean, part of entrepreneurship is just jumping over them anyway, but what would you recommend to other, emerging entrepreneurs, or either to tell them how to get started? And then part two is, what barriers have you seen that you'd like to kind of put out there and
just
look for ways to solve it?
Yeah. For entrepreneurs, I would always say, just take advantage of every resource. Like, we all have a cell phone. We all have, some type of thing to search the web. You can start with your public library, or you could even go to, just downtown Youngstown. There's so many different opportunities to help you do good. And, if you take advantage of that, you make your connections, you shake as many hands as possible, you never know who you might see, and you never know who might remember you. And the huge part of me being where I am right now is just being myself. My whole life, I didn't try to be anybody. I didn't try to, impress anybody. I just was being myself, and being myself kind of got me where I am.
Right.
But as far as, the barriers and stuff, there's always barriers. There's roadblocks. There's people, you're going to rely on somebody to show up on time because you have a meeting, you have 2 meetings, and you need the door to be unlocked for this person. It's not going to happen. A lot of things, won't happen unless you make it happen. Mm-hmm. And making it happen, I told myself that this morning, because I said, Mason, you're not in that position yet to say, okay, I'm making this stuff happen. I'm not. We have to still make this stuff happen, or get these individuals in the position to make stuff happen for things to go forward. You know what I mean? And that's the only thing that I'll say, roadblock wise, is just finding individuals and good willing workers and willing people that are, open to learn. Everybody, knows it all, especially when a 19-year-old is trying to explain something to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, I know they're out there, and we'll find some individuals and things like that. And another thing I'll say is, never fear when, you're young and somebody's telling you that you won't receive funding. Just keep grinding and save up. And eventually somebody will invest in you. I'll tell you what, I've had people invest a lot of time, but as far as money, the only grant I've received was through the Bergen real estate, and I thank Patrick and his team for so much, and they're great friends of mine now. Let's talk. He's put me on to so many different people that could just help me. So that's a great relationship that I formed. But as far as funding, don't get discouraged when you're young. Just keep grinding, and you'll figure it out. Because right now I got a lot of people asking how, why, and when. And from there, that's the good noise. John Lewis said, sometimes we need to cause some good trouble. This is my good trouble, because somebody's going to listen to this podcast, somebody's going to watch this video and say, I want to find that kid and I want to invest in what he's got going on. And this right here is bigger than me. When I say Relaced store from coast to coast to coast, I'm going to have a beautiful family, and I'm going to be chilling one day. I'm not going to be traveling the world, so it's bigger than just me, the person that started it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so never stop. That's never stop, ever, Jeff.
Right. Man, I feel like you're inspiring me to get back to work here.
Yeah, man, I mean, seriously, because when the camera comes off and the microphone, it's time to get back to work.
Break it down, yeah. It's reliance upon yourself, right, and your team and your support system.
Yeah.
What are your ambitions from a scale standpoint? It sounds like you have a good group around you right now.
Yes.
Are the projections such that you see hiring staff here? It's,
Yes.
What's your plans for what?
Currently, what I'm doing is I have 2 individuals that are in training right now for restorations and customization. That's something that's crucial. Right now, I feel like we can find anyone. I don't even know your sons, but I know you. I could hire one of your sons to stand behind the register and ask people how their day is going and take some money for, their transaction. The big important thing for me is finding the individuals that are willing to learn and to be smart enough to say, okay, this is a skill. This is anybody can clean a shoe. Not anyone can restore. It's a skill set that comes, it's not just using Mason's cleaner. It's taping a shoe properly, it's painting a shoe. Dave knows, it's bigger than just using that cleaner.
Right.
So when we find individuals that are willing to learn and know that, okay, this could maybe make me some money in the future. For instance, I have a individual who's training, he's in high school right now. He'll be going to college, probably playing football somewhere because he's just an absolute stud. And he was just telling me the other day, he said, I could probably clean pairs of shoes on people on my football team when I go to college. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Take
Right.
that, and then now you go down the road, you make some money, and then if we're doing good here, then it's okay, well, you're in Kent State. Hey, would you like to, on the side, out of football season, run this store that we may put up here? You know what I mean? I want to prepare people to be able to make money if they would to leave us one day and go do something else. There's no hard feelings. Mason taught me how to grind. Mason
Right.
taught me how to go get it.
Right.
Let's win.
Let's
you know?
win it together,
You know what I
right?
mean? Yeah,
Together
Jeff, let's
transformation.
win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, then what challenge would you offer to say, let's talk about the business community, right? So the broader community, what challenge, you're getting it done, right? You're
Right.
grinding, you're getting it done, nothing's in your way. You're clear on your vision and you're executing every single day. So do you have a challenge you want to share with the audience here that listens to the Brain Gain Youngstown Leadership Podcast?
Yeah, if we're here to challenge the brain, I'll give you guys a challenge. And I'll say it anytime that, if you're watching TV, if you're on your phone and you're doing something and you realize that okay, well, first look at yourself in the mirror. I want you to see, who you're looking at and realize, am I being the best version of myself? Not am I being somebody else? Am I trying to do this? Look at yourself, say your name, spell your name, because that's what your parents worked for so hard for you to be, and acknowledge yourself. Say, this is who I am. Every day I go in the bathroom and I say, okay, Maeson Green, thank you, God, for waking me up. And now let's go get it. You know what I mean? I encourage everybody and I challenge them to just wake up and go get it. Not all of us want to wake up early, not all, if you think I want to wake up 3 hours before school, before class, when I see people coming in their pajamas
Right.
for a 10 o'clock class, I don't. But it's I know where I want to go and I know where I want to be. So let that be more important than where you are right now. Put your goal more important in life than where you are right now.
Right.
Because if you focus on where you are, that's all you'll ever be. Focus on where you're going.
Right.
You know what I mean, Jeff?
Love it. Anything else you want to share with us today? You've been generous with your time. I know you're building a big business here and you have school, you have your work, your life, everything. So
Yeah, absolutely. We're just still, under construction mode. I got the building in July, so we hope to be open by Black Friday for, all of our customers to come in and get a restoration, a t-shirt, or a pair of sneakers. And if you got a watch, bring it and we'll get them links out.
Here we are. This is what, September 29th, 2020?
Yeah, so that's about, exactly 2 months or 2 months in a day, I believe, because the
Right.
Black Friday is on the 28th.
And I predict 10 years from now, you'll remember, you'll dig this podcast, you'll be on YouTube digging deep and you'll find yourself 10 years from now and say,
Okay.
I remember when we were just setting up this shop.
Yeah,
So-
and we're on to it next. That'll be crazy, Jeff, won't it?
Well, thanks for joining us today on the podcast, and best of luck, best wishes to you, and let's get it, right?
Yeah, hey, let's go get it,
All
Jeff.
right,
Thank
all
you
right.
so much.
Thanks.
All right.
Before we go, I'd like to thank members of the Brain Gain Coalition, especially our great sponsors. Without them, none of this would be possible. So a big thank you goes to Sweeney Chevrolet Buick GMC, the Moransky Companies, and the Mahoning Valley Manufacturers Coalition. Thanks so much for their support. And also, please follow, like, and subscribe to this series on your favorite podcast player. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn, one of my favorite places. You can find me over there at Jeff Leo Herrmann, and send me a message. I will see you next time.
I'm growing up in this life, and to the human that I need to be, I know that I am not alone.